Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Knowledge is trumped every day by execution. And if you really want to change your life, you can't let the learning you have here lead to knowledge or become an idiot. You got to let your learning lead to action, and then you can become wealthy financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and everything else. At this point in my life, nothing surprises me because every culture is different in the world, all the countries I work in, but we all have the same human needs. And so I hope I don't make any faux pas. I've been coming here for 25 years, so I think I probably won't make too many of them while I'm here. But I hope you know they won't be out of disrespect. But I really give a damn more than culture. I care more about the individual. It's because I've been obsessed with a question for most of my life, and the question really is, what makes the difference in people's lives? Why do some people perform so poorly consistently even though they have every advantage? And why are there some people that perform at the highest level have every disadvantage? And why are there some people that achieve everything they dreamed of and they're miserable? How many know somebody that has every reason to be grateful for their life and they're not? They're frustrated, they're pissed off, they're worried. How many know somebody like this? Say I. It's chronic. It's chronic in the world. And to me, that's failure. If you succeed and you're not fulfilled, that's failure. Because when you're not fulfilled, you've got nothing to really give anybody else. The problem is when you are learning in the way we've traditionally learned, it was preparing you for a different world than the one we're in. You were supposed to sit passively. You report to your position when the bell rings, and then what do? Talk to your neighbor, initiate, make shit happen? No, what are you supposed to do? Sit down and what, guys? What are you supposed to do? Shut up. Don't talk to you. Today, if you're in business and you don't talk to your neighbor, you're out of business. Who's with me here? Say I. If you wait for someone to tell you what to do in business, it's over. Your competition has taken you. So we live in a different world, and here's the problem. You're still learning the way you were taught to learn. So right now, you're all being very nice to me. I have no complaint. You're being very sweet, but you're sitting in a passive state. And let me explain why that's difficult. Who's ever done this? How many of you have ever gone to an environment where you learned something? Could be a university environment, could have been a business environment, could have been a seminar, and you learned something you truly thought was extremely useful. It wasn't somebody selling you. You're like, this is good stuff. This will change my business. This will change my life. And you were excited about it. And then you went home and you never actually applied a frickin' thing that you learned. Who's ever done this before? Raise your hand and shout, I. Who's done this more than once? Say, I. Who still feels intelligent? Say, I. You're confused. Now, I've done the same thing in the past, and I had to figure out what's the problem here. How could I be this devoted, dedicated guy, commit my money, my time, my energy, go to these events, work my tail off, take lots of notes, and then not apply it? And it's because I was learning in a passive state. Because when you're sitting like you're sitting right now, there's nothing wrong with it, but you will not, how much will you remember? If I asked you, where were you on 9/11, and you're not even Americans, how many can remember the moment when you heard about those planes crashing in the building? You could see where you were, you could remember, raise your hand if you could remember every detail. Wow, tell me where you were on 8/11. You know why? Information without emotion is rarely maintained. If there's enough emotion, if on 8/11 you met a special person in a special place and had a special experience, you might remember that because there's a different level of emotion. So one of the things we want to do is when you're learning in the traditional sense, there's not enough emotion in your nervous system. There's not even enough emotion, there's not enough energy. If there's one thing we have to be successful, I'm wasting my time and I'd be wasting yours if all we do is continue to talk this way. The reason is it might be interesting. As we go through some of the strategies, you'll probably be excited, write them down. But in this level of energy, here's what happens. Whatever state you're in when you're learning, it gets linked to what you're learning. So if you're sitting here and you're really comfortable and you're kind of enjoying this and going, wow, this is pretty good, or wow, that's really interesting, or that could be really valuable, or damn, he has big teeth, or whatever you're thinking right now in your head. If you're doing that in a passive state, then later on when you go to do something, you go, yeah, I'm really going to do this. This is really going to happen. And there's just no energy for it. So the less energy you have, the less likely you follow through and use something. How many follow here? Say I. And so, but some of you might say, yeah, but Tony, I've been here 2 days and it's great to be here with you, but I'm a little tired. It's late in the day, that type of thing. What you got to understand is this, as a business owner, as a professional, as somebody who's going to be the best in the world at what you do or believes that you are, there's nothing more valuable than energy. Nothing moves without it. And the lower the energy, low energy, things break down. High energy, you can build, you can create, you can do anything. Energy has nothing to do with age, food, sleep, It's something that comes with a psychology. Without the energy, anything else I'm going to talk to you about is a waste of time. So you and I need to establish a new standard for energy. Now, here's what I want to talk to you about. You have all these things you want me to give you in the next 2.5, 3 hours. Just make me rich, make me happy, give me lots of sex, make sure that I feel totally confident, grow my business 100%. I'll give you a couple hours. Go for it, kid. So here's the truth. Tell me if I'm right or wrong about this. You tell me. If I were to take all the things that you say you want and I was to generalize them up into a deeper, richer concept of what you really want, you don't just want these individual things like lose weight or have more energy or make more money or have a better relationship. How many would agree what you really are after is an even more extraordinary quality of life? That you want, as great as your life may be, you want more joy, more passion, more aliveness, more impact, more success. Who can relate to this here? Say I. Then in order to create an extraordinary quality of life, we have to define it. So what is an extraordinary quality of life? What would a magnificent life be? It's not for me to define. It's for you to define on your terms. To me, an extraordinary life is life on your terms. What would it look like if you really, truly, without bullshit, without exaggeration, could look yourself in the mirror and say, holy shit, look what I created. Look at the life that I've created. Now, some of you truthfully could do that now. You just don't do it enough. But I know you want more, so let's look at how to do that. I would say to you, there are 2 master skills. I invite you to write them down. 2 fundamental skills that you have to master to have an extraordinary life that lasts. It's like getting rich. Anybody can get rich. Staying rich is a different thing, right? And I don't just mean financially rich. I mean emotionally, spiritually, physically, relationship rich, all the riches that are available to us. What are the 2 skills? The first skill is the science of achievement. The science of achievement. And notice I said science. The reason is because achievement is a science. And anyone can learn it. It doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter anything. The only thing that limits you is limiting beliefs. But once you figure out the science, for example, I just spent the last 4 years interviewing 50 of the most brilliant financial minds on the planet. All people who are not part of the Lucky Sperm Club, meaning they actually earned it themselves. They started with nothing, and they built billions of dollars, and I want to see, was there common denominators? And there were. And if you practice what they teach, which is what I put into a book, if you do it, there's zero question what you do. I applied what I've learned the last 4 years and tripled my net worth, which was already extremely high. And it all just came from applying what I learned. Because I went to the very best on earth, success leaves clues, figured out what they're doing, did it myself, and I teach other people too as well. Your body, we're all unique biochemically, but not that unique. Meaning there's certain fundamentals related to health, vitality, and energy. There's certain laws. If you violate those laws, you're gonna have low energy and you're gonna have dis-ease in your body. That's what disease is, dis-ease, right? If you align with them, you're gonna have enormous amounts of energy and you're gonna have an extraordinary life because you'll have the energy to make it happen. But those are principles, there are laws. You violate them, you pay the price. Whether you like it or not doesn't matter. Your beliefs don't matter. What matters is those are the rules. Now, all of you in this room, my bet is, have achieved a hell of a lot, or you wouldn't even come here. The people that need something like this event the most rarely come. The people that are already successful, to some extent, they want more. They've got momentum, that's why they come. But let's point out real fast what does it take to achieve. I want to give you what I believe, and you tell me if this is right or wrong, and maybe the best way to do this is to measure it. So I want you right now to think of something that you've achieved in your life that once seemed difficult or impossible to you. Something that once seemed like it was a pipe dream, like it would be impossible, but today it's in your life. That might have been starting your own business and now you have it. That might have been a person you wanted to go out with, you're hoping they'd say yes to going out, you're hoping you'd kiss them, you're hoping you'd make love to them, and now you're married to them, good morning, and you're gone. Law of familiarity, right? But it was once a dream, it was once like unbelievable, it seemed impossible. Maybe it was earning a certain amount of money. Maybe it was something simple like, how many of you when you were really young, there was a car that was like, or maybe even today, there was a car that was a symbol to you of freedom or success or something. Anybody have a relationship like that, something, right? So you wanted it and it seemed impossible and then you made it happen. How many can think of something right now that once was impossible and it's in your life today, solid, you made it happen? Let me see your hands, say I. Then here's what I found, the best way to figure out how to duplicate success is to study how you've already done it. So think of that situation that once seemed impossible. It's now in your life. When it was impossible, what made it go from impossible to your life? Think about it. I'm very pragmatic about what does it take to make life work. But what I want you to know is Australia, of all the places on the face of the earth, when I was talking to my client, he was saying, Tony, of all the places on earth, there's one place you'd pick to have a great quality of life with your family that will weather the storm the best, it's Australia, by far. You guys are in the best place on earth to make it through this situation and take advantage of it. But the real secret is, whether you suffer or whether you succeed is not going to be based on the season. Some people freeze to death in the middle of the winter. Other people ski and snowboard. It really comes down to what are you going to do? So as I was coming here, I was thinking, what can I do to show you how to take advantage of the season? What can I do to show you how you can absolutely, doesn't matter what the season is a bad season financially a good or bad time to start a business? Tell me, which one? When the economy is toughest, is it a good or bad time to start a business? You tell me. Which one? You go, well, of course, that's what he expects me to say is good. But it's the truth. If you look at the Fortune 1000 companies around the world, 65% of them were started in a depression or a recession. The reason is they were started with somebody when all the competition was freaking out. Somebody could start like Apple Computers in the middle of a recession with selling their Volkswagen bus and coming out with some ideas because everybody else was scared and wasn't willing to do whatever it took. Disney started in the depression. Right? Fortune magazine started in a depression. How are you going to build your fortune in the middle of a depression? It's why they're one of the strongest companies in the magazine business, and a business that's pretty horrible for most people. If you look at Microsoft, it was a recession. You look at the best and most powerful companies, it's because they understood something that's really critical, and that is, don't ask it be easier, ask and make yourself better. If you get strong during the tough time, you'll dominate for the rest of your life. But what I think would be useful is maybe walk you through a tool that I've got that I've developed over the years to turn companies around. And the fundamental tool is there are areas of your business, every one of you in this room, no matter what your business is, if you're in business, you're probably doing something well. How many got some area of your business you're proud of, whether it be marketing or sales or the product or the service? How many got an area you're proud of? Say I. How many got an area you're less than proud of? Say I. The challenge is, where does our energy go? To the areas we feel most skilled and powerful in, or least skilled and least powerful in? Which one? No, our energy tends to go to the areas we feel most powerful. We do what makes us feel good. We do what we feel competent in, not what we feel incompetent in. And business is complex. It doesn't have to be, but it is. So I thought maybe there'd be a format I could give you today is, let's walk through what the business environment's really like right now, and then let's see if we can walk through what are the areas that if you were just to do this, if I never saw you again, and my goal is to see you again, my goal is to add enough value, go, okay, this is a no-brainer. I'm gonna take 4 days when Tony comes back, I'm gonna go in this experience and be immersed and grow my business 30 to 100%. But if I don't, here's what I want you to do, or if you don't. I'm gonna cover 7 areas that are what I call the 7 forces of your business. Each force has a forceful impact on your level of success or failure, profitability, etc. There's some areas I bet you're doing good in. Some areas you could do better in. Some areas you're very weak in. The problem is, a chain is only as strong as its weakest what? And in business, so many businesses go through challenges because those weak links are the ones that destroy you, not your strengths. It's true around the world, but actually Australian business is interesting, a little bit more intense than even business in the US in one category. What percentage of Australian businesses are still alive 5 years after they start? Who knows? What percentage of Australian businesses are still alive 5 years after they start? I'll give you a clue. 90% of all Australian businesses are gone in the first 5 years. If you and I are going to really make this thing work, it's that we got to look and say, okay, why do businesses, why do they fail? Why do so many businesses fail? Why is it? I mean, good-intentioned people, smart people, strong people, and yet they still fail. And many of them had good products, good services. They had great advantages when they start. They may have been successful for 3 or 4 or 5 years or even 10 years, and now they're gone. I will tell you what I've seen in my life, and I've had the privilege now of working around the world with 50 million people through my books and tapes and audio and video programs, but I've worked with 4 million people, 4 million from 100 different countries over the last 34 years. I can clearly tell you there's patterns you don't miss when you've been with that many people and that many businesses. And the one pattern I can tell you above anything else is most businesses fail because they fail to anticipate what's coming. Write that down. Write down, anticipation is the ultimate power. If you fail to anticipate, no matter how smart you are, you're going to end up reacting and your business will pay the price. And the price in the sport we're in is death, death of the business, just like a gladiator. Now, what do I mean by this? Maybe I can show you what I mean by giving you an example that more people could relate to. I want you to sit up in your chair with some energy. So I know you're in it. Sit up in your chair with some energy. Make sure the person next to you's got some energy. And I want you to yell out, I, if this describes an experience you really have. And I want you to be honest. If it doesn't describe an experience you have, don't say anything. But if it describes an experience you have, I want you to raise your hand and go, I, all right? So here's my question.